It's time once again for That Business Show with Jamie Meloni on 1250 Wins WHNZ, where business becomes show business. Jamie is a leading Tampa Bay real estate agent and featured on the Wall Street Journal's list of top 100 real estate agents in the nation. Jamie invites you to list your home with him today and learn more at tampabayradio.com. Now, live in studio and promoting the entrepreneurial spirit that drives the American economy, your host, Jamie Meloni.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday, and thanks for tuning in to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business. Each weekday morning at 8 a.m. here on 1250 WHNZ, a show with a positive message each morning as I talk to many different professionals, business owners, entrepreneurs, political and civic leaders about what they're doing in our communities to make a difference. So, as always, I invite you to tune in each and every morning and take a break from all the political news and sports talk that dominates our airwaves each and every morning with a show with a completely different flavor. You'll find nothing like this show on any of the airwaves in the Tampa Bay region. So again, take a break from all that stuff that's on the airwaves with a show with what is going on in the community. Also, take a moment to visit my website, tampabayradio.com. Over there, all shows available on demand, and also you'll see I do sell real estate. That is my day job. I do after each and every show. So I come in here each morning, interview a couple of professionals, and then I go sell real estate and try to make a little bit of money at the same time. So take a moment to visit my website, and I do offer a free home valuation to all of my listeners out there. Just click on the Sell Your Home link on the homepage, and we'll get you over a free home valuation, typically within 24 to 48 business hours. Also, connect with me on all the different social media sites, facebook.com/thatbusinessshow, and Twitter under the handle Jamie_Meloni. Well, we got everybody in studio with me as always. Stephen Armstrong working the radio station 1250, the audio, thanks to him as always, and also Josh Vozda running the Streamcast. We do stream all shows here live over the internet there, so if you visit tampabayradio.com and click on Watch Live Stream, you can see the video in here each and every morning. So if you're sitting in an office and not out in a car somewhere, you can see us here each morning as well. Also, thanks to Rick Toseda, who's in here each and every morning taking amazing photographs of me and the guest. And as always, take a look at him and help him out over at ricktoseda.com, and an amazing photographer. Time to bring on my first guest for the show. Dr. Andrew Gold is a full-time business faculty member at HCC, aka Hillsborough Community College, and also teaches in the graduate school at the University of Tampa and the University of South Florida. Andrew is a lifelong entrepreneur, having started 5 businesses over the past 22 years. Dr. Andrew Gold, welcome to the show today.
Well, Jamie, thanks so much for having me on.
So talk to me a little bit about your background. You come from Wall Street, you said, right? How'd you get out of Wall Street?
Well, it's really, I think, an interesting story. I never planned to work on Wall Street. I grew up in New York City, product of public school. And when you go to high school in New York City, back then, this was back in the 1970s, yes, I'm that old, you went to the school you were zoned for. And the high school I was zoned for was a high school called Brandeis High School, which was not a very good high school at that time. So my parents said, you know, Andy, you got to take an exam to get into one of these better public high schools. And in New York City, there are 3 public high schools. One is called Stuyvesant, the other is called Bronx Science, and the third is called Brooklyn Tech. And they're nationally renowned public high schools that you have to take an entrance exam to get into. So I took the exam. On that day, I'm not a good test taker. Must have something happened. I scored high enough to get into all 3. And my friends and I, who were in the same situation, said, which one should we go to? So at that point in my life, there was a movie that had just come out called Saturday Night Fever. And just to kind of connect the dots here in terms of serendipity, that was the first serendipitous occurrence here on my road to Wall Street. So we thought, you know, we've never spent a lot of time in Brooklyn, and that movie kind of portrayed Brooklyn like there was a lot of cool stuff happening back then. So I really decided to go to Brooklyn Tech for that reason and that reason alone, because of Saturday Night Fever. So we go there, and my first day of class, the last period of the day was English, and you know, I was kind of nervous. New school, big school. There were, just so you know, like over 7,000 students at Brooklyn Tech High School. It's a large high school. So I walk into this room, Mr. Edwards' class, the English teacher, and he's sitting at a wooden desk, and he's got all these papers around, and he's drawing lines and charts and things. I didn't know what the heck he was doing. And then the bell went off, and he looks up at the students, and this sadness like came over his face, like, oh, you know, now I've got to teach these kids about English, you know. Mm-hmm. And as it turned out, he was by far the world's worst English teacher ever that I ever had. But everything I didn't learn about English from that man, Mr. Edwards, I learned almost everything I know today about finance and economics. So how did that happen? So one day, I don't know what came over me. I was curious what he was doing each day at his desk. And I walk up to him and I say, hey, Mr. Edwards, what are you doing with these papers and rulers and things you're doing? So he was so excited, and he sat me down. I really didn't want to sit down. It was kind of an awkward moment there, but I sat down and he starts to explain to me that he trades the stock market and he's talking about trend lines and all these things, and stuff's just flying over my head. But it was kind of interesting. It was what animated him. He was really excited about that. He was terrible at teaching English, but really into that. So I left, and about 2 weeks later, he says, hey, Andy, come over here as I'm leaving class. And he shows me this chart of this stock, and I didn't really know what it was. And he's like, look, every time it gets to 30, it goes to 10, back to 30, and back to 10 over 8 years. And look what's just happened. It's gotten above 30. I didn't really know what that meant, but he was excited about it. So I asked him what the name of the stock was, and he said it's a company called Resorts International. So I said, well, what do they do? And he said, well, in about a month and a half in the state of New Jersey, the folks are going to be voting there on whether or not to legalize gambling in Atlantic City. And if they vote yes, Resorts International has the rights to build the first casino in Atlantic City. And when he said that, I was really excited. I thought, gosh, are they going to, what would you have asked, Jamie? I said, are they going to vote yes?
Yeah.
And he said, well, I don't know. It's close. We're not sure. So I went home that night, and, I happen to be Jewish, which has little to do with the story except for the fact that I was bar mitzvahed about 2 years prior to that. And I had in a bank account $937 from my bar mitzvah. I had gotten these gifts. So I told my dad, I want to take all this money out of the account and give it to him to put into his investment account and purchase as many shares of Resorts International. I told him about Mr. Edwards, and my dad was like thrilled because back then I had long hair and I was in a rock band. I still play the drums, but right. I think my dad was, for sure, he thought I was like a loser, and he was like so excited. I'm talking about business and finance and all this stuff. So he was like, yes, let's do it. So he buys it. I get 30 shares of stock at about $31 a share. And to make a long story short, of course, they legalized gambling in Atlantic City. And from November of that year to mid-January of the following year, the stock goes from $31 up to $142 a share. And I was so excited. Like I had just made over $3,000. I was like 15 years old.
Yeah.
And the last day it went up like 14 points. And Mr. Edwards was like, Andy, did you see the stock today? I was like, well, no, I don't have a smartphone. They haven't been invented yet. And I couldn't check him in class all day because I was up 14 points. I go home and I tell my dad couldn't believe it. Like his son had done something he'd been trying to do his whole life, like capture lightning in a bottle, And I said, Dad, we got to sell it. He's like, absolutely, you're selling this. And he sold it. And I felt so good. I felt like, man, this is maybe something I want to do with my life. And then a really weird thing happened. The stock proceeded over the next 5 months to go from $140 up to $360 a share.
But you're already out, though.
I was out.
You're
absolutely.
Already out. Okay.
And I was like, oh, fudgesicles, all of a sudden this greed switch went on in my head. Right. And I was all of a sudden miserable over this $6,000 I could have made. Rather than just being content with $3,000. I mean, I was 15 in the late 1970s. You would think I would be happy, right? But I was miserable, and I thought, that's an odd behavior. Why do I feel this way? So when I went to college, I went to a state school in New York. I realized I didn't need to study business. I was a dual major. I studied economics and psychology because I didn't know anything about how human beings behave, let alone how I was behaving. But I knew I needed to if I wanted to have a career on Wall Street. So I graduated, got my foot in the door on Wall Street, had a 12-year career there, and at the end of that career, raised capital with a partner of mine, and we had a hedge fund, which is like a money management business. And it was during that period that I really had like my soul ripped out of me, because there comes a point in that industry where you have to choose between, whether or not you stay true to your value systems or beliefs or whatever your feelings are toward the world, or you compromise them and try to gain financially. And I just wasn't prepared to do that. I had to think about very bad things happening in the world for me to make money. And I didn't feel comfortable with that, so I left. And I went to work for a friend of mine, this guy David, who had a small IT consulting business. And I loved it. It was like stress-free, and I wasn't making much money, but I was happy. And one day he calls me on a Sunday and he says, Andy, I need you to go down to St. Malachi's Church on 49th Street in Manhattan. There are these nuns who run a nonprofit organization there called Encore Community Services. And they have 50, 60 employees and 3 servers, and they're having all these problems. Go spend a couple of days there and help them. So I said, great, I'll go on Monday. And again, being Jewish, I'd had like no interaction with nuns my whole life. And back in the day on TV, there used to be a TV show on called The Flying Nun. Now, I didn't think nuns flew, okay? But I thought maybe they would be dressed in these habits, in these outfits. I just didn't know what to expect. So I walk in there, and the mission of Encore Community Services is to serve homeless seniors living in the Hell's Kitchen area of Manhattan, like the Midtown West Side of Manhattan. So I go in there, and Sister Elizabeth and Sister Lillian meet me. And I mean, these women who are dear friends of mine today, I mean, they utterly like changed my life. They were so passionate and committed and, working so hard to serve the needs of people that had no one else helping them. And I don't know really what to say except that they really were empowering for me. So after about 2.5 days, of them, blessing me constantly, I figured that can't be a bad thing, getting blessed by nuns. I go back to Dave's office and he says, all right, now you have to invoice the nuns. And, this Jewish guilt comes over me and I'm like, really, Dave? Like, have you been down there lately and seen what they're doing? And he said, no, I understand, Andy, but, we're a business. He starts lecturing me about business. I can't pay you if you don't invoice them. And I said, well, then just don't pay me. I thought that was a solution to that problem. No, it'll set a precedent. Trust me, they understand. So I invoiced them begrudgingly, but it really bothered me. It didn't sit well with me. So the entrepreneur in me thought, well, that's got to be a problem that other nonprofit organizations have where they don't have the resources to pay for technology, but yet need help with their technology. So I thought to myself, how cool would it be to have a business where I could provide IT consulting services for free to nonprofits, but yet still be able to pay my mortgage and buy food and pay the electric.
Was that the inception of your first business?
Yes, yeah.
Very, very interesting story. I got to take a quick break. That was an amazing story, and I know you got several others to share with us, including some information on the HCC Entrepreneurship Program.
That's right, yes.
Which you're teaching at today. I'm currently talking with Dr. Andrew Gold, who is a faculty member over at HCC, and stay tuned. Coming back to the break, we'll talk a little bit more with him. We're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business.
Help promote the entrepreneurial spirit that drives the American economy. Tune in weekdays at 8 a.m. on 1250 WINS WHNZ to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni, where he promotes what is right with our community and highlights the successes of our entrepreneurs. Show contributor openings also available. You can learn more about the show and how to become part of this growing network at TampaBayRadio.com. Tune in weekdays at 8 a.m. to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business.
Tampa Bay weather is a roof killer. That's why when getting your roof done, you want it done right. Hi, I'm Jamie Meloni of That Business Show. When considering a new roof or repair, talk to Westfall Roofing. They've been installing high-quality roofs in Tampa Bay for over 25 years. Get a free, no-obligation estimate by calling 855-99-ROOFING. That's 855-99-ROOFING. Find out what already 15,000 satisfied customers already know. Call now, 855-99-ROOFING.
Are you in need of new flooring or ready to tackle that home remodeling project? Then contact Yeager & Company Incorporated, a family-owned, state-certified general contracting business with over 70 years of experience and the recipient of the Angie's List Super Service Award for the last 8 years in multiple categories. Yeager & Company comes to you with their shop-at-home flooring sales service, and their hardwood flooring refinishing is the very best in the Bay. Kitchen and bath design featuring American-made, well-born cabinets. And all work is done by employees, not subcontractors. Learn more at YeagerFlooring.com.
If you've been following That Business Show on Facebook and Twitter, you may have noticed the quality of some of our images. That's because one of our sponsors is pro photographer Rick Taseda, a member of the Professional Photographers of America. You can view his extensive work by going to his website at ricktaseda.com or call him for an appointment to chat about your photography needs at 813-641-4757. That's 813-641-4757. Rick Taseda Visuals. Call him for your next event or project. In an age when the good and the better vie for attention, it is the best that stands out. The best of Tampa Bay from Proudly Florida is the love story for the city of Tampa, celebrating success, sharing achievements, a tribute to enterprise and community spirit. Let Proudly Florida showcase your business to your city, your nation, and the world. For more information, email info@proudlyflorida.com and be sure to visit proudlyflorida.com.
Are you looking for a local real estate firm that knows the market and has your interests in mind? Then contact Jim McPeak at McPeak Real Estate Firm, a family-owned business whose agents have over 60-plus years of experience in the Tampa Bay market. Many of the agents are military veterans that know the VA process for buying a home and are proud to help our military members in any way they can. From residential to commercial real estate, McPeak Real Estate Firm is here to help. Contact Jim at 813-495-3875 and learn more at McPeakTeam.com.
From the Bright House Networks Traffic Center.
Traffic on southbound 275 at Dale Mabry has the left lane blocked, and that is affecting traffic on a lot of other roadways. Westbound I-4 is jammed from the Selma connector through downtown, and southbound 275 from MLK to the accident scene. Northbound 275 on the Howard Franklin Bridge, it's jammed from almost the Pinellas County side into Tampa. That means we're also seeing additional traffic on Gandy Boulevard between the bridge and the Crosstown Expressway, and on the eastbound side of the Courtney Campbell Causeway approaching Rocky Point. See traffic problems, call the injury firm of Abrahamson and Utica Hillsborough Traffic Tip Line, 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by the Extragen Temporal Scanner Thermometer. The Extragen Temporal Scanner Thermometer is so fast, accurate, and easy to use, you'll just love it. A must-have for any household, especially with children. The Extragen Temporal Scanner Thermometer. Get yours at Toys R Us, Babies R Us, and other fine retailers today.
Today, fall-like weather, mostly sunny and breezy, high 80. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 65. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a high 85.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Missed a show? Then head over to TampaBayRadio.com, where all shows are available on demand. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Meloni.
And we're back to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business, each weekday morning at 8 a.m. here on 1250 WHNZ. And learn more about the show over at TampaBayRadio.com. Currently talking to Dr. Andrew Gold, who shared an amazing story with us in that last segment about his entrepreneurial journey. And you're about the only person I've ever talked to whose English class actually paid off for them. I talk about that from time to time, that I spent 4 years in high school English and I got nothing out of it other than what an Oedipus complex is. But that's a whole separate talking point right there. Today, you're part of the, you're teaching at the HCC and you're part of the entrepreneurship program. Tell us about what this is.
Okay, so at Hillsborough Community College, we have a entrepreneurship program that has many, many different facets to it. But the essence of it is, on the academic side, we have a 12-credit certificate program where students come in and take 4 college courses. They come in a cohort, and basically is all they have to have is an idea, a business idea. And over the course of 15 weeks, they learn to either actually launch their businesses for real, or they realize their idea lacks validity in the marketplace through rigorous research that they engage in to test the various business model assumptions that they have. The power of this program is it's extremely experiential and fast-pacing. So you learn about entrepreneurship by being an entrepreneur, not reading about entrepreneurship, not taking a quiz. You know, what does this mean? What does that mean? So it's a very high-impact, fast-paced, real program, which we're very, very proud of. It's been around for about 2 years, and we've had most students realize their ideas stink, you know, and nobody is interested in them, and they're sad, but it's actually a great outcome because it saves them from like years of financial hell pursuing something that was doomed to fail.
And many entrepreneurs have had bad ideas. The good thing about being an entrepreneur is you only got to be right once.
That's right.
You only got to be right once.
But we have had success. We've had 7 companies launch, student-run businesses, and a number of them are owned by veterans. At Hillsborough Community College, we have thousands of students who are veterans, and many of them come through the entrepreneurship program. So one of the things we do there to further help veterans with the process of transitioning back to civilian life is we have this symposium. We're having our third one on November 14th. It's a Saturday from 10 to 4 p.m. at our Plant City campus. And basically what it is the Veterans Entrepreneurship Training Symposium. It's a one-day event where veterans and active duty service members can come for free, learn all about entrepreneurship, connect with other veterans who have successfully transitioned, make new connections, figure out if entrepreneurship's for them or not.
Is this the same program that the student would go through, the same steps, same course, same layout?
It's different. This is a one-day event, the
symposium. It's a one-day event, okay.
And we have different panel discussions on various topics like how do I form a business? How do I market a business? How do I fund a business? And it's a day to really help veterans realize whether or not entrepreneurship and self-employment is or is not for them. The entrepreneurship program itself is for people that really have an idea that they want to dive into and rapidly figure out whether or not they can actually launch a company for real and be in business.
Okay. Now, the entrepreneurship program, is this a program that, do you have to be enrolled at HCC as a student to get into that program, or can a non-student just take that one class?
You do. You have to be enrolled as an HCC student. It's an open enrollment institution, which means that you just essentially have to apply to become a student and have a high school degree. There are no other requirements that are needed. So once you're enrolled, you can then register for the 4 classes. We run the 4 classes every semester, and it's great. We bring in a lot of community partners, and we always say that the most powerful learning does not occur in our classroom, but rather outside the classroom in the community. We push our students out into the community to do amazing things, research, meeting with people, interviewing people, working on their business ideas. And I think that's really where the powerful learning comes from. There's a famous TED Talk done by this guy, Sir Ken Robinson, and it's all about creativity or the lack thereof in our education system. And I think one of the things that we struggle with as educators is what he says, is that you don't grow into creativity, you grow out of creativity as you get older. And in fact, the education system kind of squeezes creativity out of people. And our job as educators, I believe, is to reconnect with that creative spirit that lies within everybody. And the entrepreneurship program is a great way to do that, because you have to think critically and be very action-oriented. But it's something that I think is of great value.
It is, and it's something that I complained about in my early 20s coming out of, high school and the public school system, is I had no real world experience. I knew all about history and English, which is important, but I didn't know the basics of home ownership, of starting a business, all that type of stuff. And so I definitely applaud this program there.
Yeah, knowledge today is a commodity. Like if let's say you were a geography buff, and I said, all right, let's race to see who can name the 50 state capitals in the United States, and you started, and I opened up Google on my phone and I looked up a list, I would beat you, because I don't need to know what the state capitals are. So the thing today is we're teaching a lot of facts, and the students today know a lot of stuff, but that's really useless when you think about it, because what's important is, what do you do with the knowledge you know? How do you apply that? And that's, I think, the missing piece here is, knowing stuff isn't enough anymore. It's what to do with the stuff that you know.
Absolutely.
And
factual, just basic factual knowledge doesn't come in good unless you're at trivia night over at the bar and stuff. And so real world experience is what we need out there in our educational system. How has demand been from the community for this program?
It's been great. We have a limited seat capacity in the classroom where we teach, where we can have up to 25 students, and we've essentially been filled each semester that we've run the program. So if you're interested in applying, go to hccfl.edu/innovation. That's our website for the program. You'll learn all about it. There's brochures there and flyers, and you can learn a lot about the stuff that we're doing.
Oh, very cool. Dr. Gold, thank you so much for being in studio. Great story and great program over at HCC. Thank you very much.
Jamie, for everything you're doing. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. Again, Dr. Andrew Gold with the Hillsborough Community College. Coming back for another break, I'm going to talk with Jeff Gerard, founder of the Simons Soldiers Foundation, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, check out my website, TampaBayRadio.com. Again, all shows available available on demand. And please connect with me on all the different social media outlets out there. You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeager's. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeager's, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring-type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Center in Tampa with Mardi Gras themed dinner, dancing, and live and silent auctions, benefiting ocular research for the blind and visually impaired. More at lionseyeinstitute.org.
From the Bright House Networks Traffic Center.
Police on scene of a bad crash on southbound US 19 at Tampa Road. Couple lanes blocked there. Also, we've got big delays still on 275 north and southbound near Dale Mabry. Northbound delays stretch back to almost the Pinellas County side of the Howard Franklin Bridge. Southbound through downtown Tampa, back from Hillsborough Avenue and westbound I-4 from the Selma Connector. See traffic problems, call the industry firm of Abrahamson and Uterick. Hillsborough traffic tip line 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by the Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer. The Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer is the top choice of doctors, nurses, and other health professionals nationwide. Now, it can be your choice too. The Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer. Get yours at your local Club Warehouse and other fine retailers today.
1250 winds, weather center forecast. Today's high, low 80s. More clouds and sunshine. We've got that windy conditions going on as well, and a 10% chance of some showers. Overnight lows on the chilly side in the mid-60s. Tomorrow, about the same forecast, and then we'll see those mid-80s return by Wednesday. Impact Radio, 1250 winds.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Missed a show? Then head over to TampaBayRadio.com, where all shows are available on demand. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Meloni.
Welcome back to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business. Again, weekday mornings at 8 a.m. here on 1250 WHNZ, a business variety show. Something different each and every morning as I talk to many different professionals about what they're doing in our community to make a difference. Also, each Sunday on 970 WFLA, I've expanded the show to include a real estate edition. So that show's all about what I do in real estate, along with my co-host Frank Cotto of the Lincoln Lending Group. So if you're in the market for some good real estate knowledge, please make a note that that show's on Sunday mornings at 5 a.m. on 970 WFLA. And also it'll be available on demand over at TampaBayRadio.com as well as iTunes. We do put that show up there, as well as this one on iTunes as a podcast. Time to bring in my next guest for the show. Jeff Gerard is the founder of Simon Soldiers Foundation, a nonprofit employing veterans training homeless canines to be emotional support buddy dogs for military veterans disabled by PTSD. He is also the executive producer for Gerard Films, a TV production company that has produced some of the most successful cause marketing and direct response campaigns in television history for Walmart, Visa, Costco, and many others. Jeff, welcome to the program this morning.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
So, Jeff, let's start off with tell the audience, what is Simon Soldiers?
Simon Soldiers is a foundation that we created to employ veterans training rescue dogs as buddy dogs, battle buddies for veterans who are disabled by PTSD. There's a number of organizations that are doing this. Most of them that do it, they get puppies, little Labradors or whatnot. It takes 2 to 3 years to train the dog, and it usually costs about $40,000. We take a faster track approach. We get rescue dogs from various organizations and train them to be basically battle buddy dogs. They're not necessarily service dogs when they come out, but they do help the veterans with their issues with PTSD, with the traumatic things. Basically, you can train a dog really quickly to a dog can be in tune. The main thing they need to do is be in tune with the emotional status of the veteran. If he's having a problem, they can sense it and they can nudge him. They can get him away from the problem before it ever starts. So what
was the motivation behind the creation of Simon Soldiers then?
My father was over at Haley's VA hospital, and there was a therapy dog there for many years named Simon, who was a huge black poodle, and he was very helpful to my father psychologically in terms of getting through. My father was there for 18 months with a broken hip and recovering. And I saw how that Simon would help the young veterans that are just back from the war. They would spend time with them, petting and whatnot, and you could see the soothing, the calm that would come over them in working with Simon. And as I learned more about it, I learned that dogs were probably one of the most effective therapies for veterans with PTSD. They just off the charts in terms of what they can do for you.
So you're saying the dog can actually help, I wouldn't say cure, but help, bring along a patient suffering from PTSD then?
They help them deal with it. For instance, if they're out in a crowd, they can watch their back. If they're at home and they starting having depression or flashbacks or anxiety, the dog can be trained to sense emotional changes in you, and the dog will nudge you or basically bring it to the veteran's attention and get them out of that. They also serve, by doing this, it also gets veterans with PTSD, a lot of them will withdraw into their own home. They don't want to go out. They don't want to see anybody. By doing this, the dog gets them out. It also gets them back into kind of a society where they're dealing with other veterans that are dealing with the same thing. They see the same problems. The VA currently does not fund this. Congressman Bill Rackus up in Pasco just passed a bill called the Cover Act, which is for alternative treatments for PTSD. And this is hopefully going to get a lot of money towards this type of program for veterans with the dogs. Typically, whenever you see studies that are done with the dogs, you'll see that the veterans' suicide rate goes down tremendously. There's less medications involved. They're back being more productive in society. They can get jobs again. All these things are just wonderful. And
so how does this program, there are other PTSD programs out there that use canines in the treatment. How does this one differ from other programs that are similar?
This one is much faster track. There's about 500,000 veterans right now with PTSD, and right now there's about 2,500 dogs that are trained to cover all that spectrum. We're trying to get more dogs. We're trying to get this in a national program where the dogs are trained quickly. You get a rescue dog that's about 2 to 5 years old, and you can train very quickly. We have some of the best trainers in the country working on this. And we get the dog in their hands where they're at least working with them. They're not going to be a service dog that quickly. It's about a 6-month training program, but the dog is there living with the veteran and can help him through these types of things. Most programs, when they get a puppy, they train them for about 2.5 years. So that's one reason why it takes so long there's such a shortage of PTSD dogs.
Okay, so the veterans are also the ones training the dogs too, or did I misunderstand?
We have different ways we can go, but typically what the first part is to train the veteran to work with the dog and the dog to work with the veteran. So there's about a 6-month training period where you go through obedience, then you go out in to the airport, to malls and whatnot, so that they can work together. And by the end of about a 3-month period, the veteran could typically take the dog home. Once he's had obedience training and they work together and, they pass certain milestones. And over the course of time, they can keep training. If they want to, they can go all the way to a service dog, but that's, again, all these training. Now, the program that we provide, the dogs are free, the training is free. About all the veteran will have to pay for is food for the dog over the course of a lifetime, and we're even working on trying to find a way to to take care of that for them.
So how can the community and the listeners help in this program? I mean, what are you needing help from, in what areas in this program?
Well, there's lots of ways they can help. I mean, obviously, donations always help. You know, the more money that comes in is, you know, the more people that we can help. They can volunteer in terms of fostering. They can volunteer just simply if they know a veteran who's disabled or afflicted by PTSD. Send them the website, which is at www.simonsoldiers.org, and let them know about the program. That's really as we start off here, the biggest challenge is getting it to the veterans. We have the dogs available, we have the trainers available. Now we need to get more veterans into the program and spread the word so that they know it's there and what they can get out of it.
Okay, and you're also a filmmaker here. I see you've produced a rockumentary called 45 Wars, a World War II rockumentary. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, 45 Wars is as you say, is a rockumentary. A few years, number of years ago, I heard a stat that half of all college seniors didn't know much about World War II. They didn't know what was going on with it, and I thought, this is ridiculous. You know, this is a key part of our history. And a lot of it is that you watch a lot of documentaries, and they're kind of boring for the younger generation. So we created this using rock and roll music. We interviewed 40 different World War II veterans telling their firsthand stories of what happened, from happy stories to some very horrific stories. And we set it to rock and roll music. We put them in very short segments, anywhere from 30 seconds to 4 minutes, so that the attention span of younger generation that used to MTV, this is really applied to them. So this is ideally, I think anybody will enjoy it, but especially to get the word out to younger people to kind of understand what Grandpa went through.
Yeah, and you were sharing with me, as we talked before the show, that, I mean, some of these stories, it's hard to get out of these veterans. I myself am kind of like an open book. I'll talk about anything, but then again, I've never been through, war. And tell me about, some of these experiences that you had with some of these veterans and getting them to open up about their stories.
Well, generally speaking, when I would go and interview one of the veterans, one of the first questions I would ever ask is, where were you when Pearl Harbor happened? And a friend, I was interviewing one veteran, and he brought a friend of his who was another veteran. I didn't know his story, and I asked him that question, and he said, well, I was walking along at Hickam Field, which was the airfield at Pearl Harbor, and he proceeded for about 10 minutes to tell his story of what happened, and it was riveting. And at the end of it, he broke down, and it turned out his wife was with him, and it turned out that at 60 years he had never told anybody this story. And there was just instance after instance. I had kids that would say, well, you can interview my dad, but he's not going to talk much about it. But I think what happened was these guys were in their 80s and 90s, and I think they realized this was their opportunity to finally tell somebody and have it be a legacy of telling the real story of what happened. And there's some just amazing stories.
I mean, how many different stories are on the rockumentary here? How many different segments?
Well, we interviewed 40 different people, and sometimes there'll be multiple people in one segment. But it's a pretty good cross section, starting from from Pearl Harbor to VJ Day and what their experiences were, how they felt about different things. We talked to nurses, we talked to pilots, we talked to people on the ground.
And your father was a pilot too, correct?
My father was a pilot in World War II. He was a bomber pilot in World War II. And again, I didn't know much of his story until I actually sat him down for a couple hours and interviewed him and started finding out things about it. So yes, he was a World War II pilot who passed away last November.
So why is it that they clam up? Is that part of PTSD, or is that just something that was just a different culture back then where you just didn't talk about it because it was just such a traumatic experience? So, I mean, what were some of your takeaways when you talked with these veterans?
I think a lot of these guys didn't talk about it because just at the time, they didn't talk about it. They came home, it was behind them, they didn't talk about it. I mean, if you recall World War II, when somebody really had what was now known as PTSD, back then they called it battle fatigue. And there's a famous story about Patton slapping one of the guys who had battle fatigue. I mean, in this day and age, he probably would have, lost his generalship. But they just did not. That was their duty. They all went through it. They seemed to just have their duty and come back home. And I'm not a hero. I went through it. And I think also they didn't have any way to really express it. I think a lot of it was kept inside. There's a fellow in the story who talks about he had bad dreams for 5 or 6 years, and then they went away. Well, he also tells a story that he was in the hospital and woke up screaming at night, and the next morning somebody said, "Who was that screaming?" He kept quiet because he didn't want anybody to know it was him. It was just considered a weakness, I think, really, at that time.
What, in your opinion, what has made society or the veterans more accepting or more knowledgeable of PTSD? Because I think in the 70s, probably nobody understood or had heard of PTSD, and I think 80s and 90s, that term started to come around a little bit more. What was the cause of this transition, do you think?
Well, I think there's psychologists and whatnot started learning more about what was really going on. Again, it was nobody really looked at it. Again, battle fatigue sounds like, oh, the guy's just tired. Think about it, knowing what we know now, the psychological issues, like child abuse and different scars that are left on you. I mean, these guys went through 2 years at least, if not 3 or 4, of some of the most horrific things that could ever happen to a human being.
Yeah. Let me take a quick break, but coming back from the break, I'm going to talk a little bit more with filmmaker Jeff Gerard and also founder of Simon's Soldiers Foundations. Learn more about him at gerardfilms.com. You're currently listening to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business. Have you considered a reverse mortgage as part of your retirement financial plan? For homeowners age 62 or older, a reverse mortgage from Access Reverse Mortgage is a safe, economical way to turn your home's equity into cash or monthly income. Access Reverse Mortgage is a family-owned company based right here in the Tampa Bay area for the past 10 years. They are A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau and Florida's leading reverse mortgage provider. Call 727-347-0305 or go to accessreverse.com to start your research today. NMLS number 4566. That's 727-347-0305.
Are you looking for a local real estate firm that knows the market and has your interests in mind? Then contact Jim McPeak at McPeak Real Estate Firm, a family-owned business whose agents have over 60-plus years of experience in the Tampa Bay market. Many of the agents are military veterans that know the VA process for buying a home and are proud to help our military members in any way they can. From residential to commercial real estate, McPeak Real Estate Firm is here to help. Contact Jim at 813-495-3875 and learn more at McPeakTeam.com.
In an age when the good and the better vie for attention, it is the best that stands out. The best of Tampa Bay from Proudly Florida is the love story for the city of Tampa, celebrating success, sharing achievements, a tribute to enterprise and community spirit. Let Proudly Florida showcase your business to your city, your nation, and the world. For more information, email info@proudlyflorida.com and be sure to visit proudlyflorida.com.
Help promote the entrepreneurial spirit that drives the American economy. Tune in weekdays at 8 a.m. on 1250 WINS WHNZ to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni, where he promotes what is right with our community and highlights the successes of our entrepreneurs. Show contributor openings also available. You can learn more about the show and how to become part of this growing network at TampaBayRadio.com. Tune in weekdays at 8 a.m. to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business.
Tampa Bay weather is a roof killer. That's why when getting your roof done, you want it done right. Hi, I'm Jamie Meloni of That Business Show. When considering a new roof or repair, talk to Westfall Roofing. They've been installing high-quality roofs in Tampa Bay for over 25 years. Get a free, no-obligation estimate by calling 855-99-ROOFING. That's 855-99-ROOFING. Find out what already 15,000 satisfied customers already know. Call now, 855-99-ROOFING.
Are you in need of new flooring or ready to tackle that home remodeling project? Then contact Yeager & Company Incorporated, a family-owned, state-certified general contracting business with over 70 years of experience and the recipient of the Angie's List Super Service Award for the last 8 years in multiple categories. Yeager & Company comes to you with their shop-at-home flooring sales service, and their hardwood flooring refinishing is the very best in the Bay. Kitchen and bath design featuring American-made, well-born cabinets, and all work is done by employees, not subcontractors. Learn more at YagerFlooring.com.
From the Bright House Networks Traffic Center.
Expect delays on southbound US 19 approaching Tampa Road. Crash there, blocking a couple lanes. The crash on southbound 275 at Dale Mabry, that is now clear. All lanes back open. Traffic should be getting back to normal, but it is very slow from before downtown Tampa. And, of course, on northbound 275, it's slow from about midspan on the Howard Franklin Bridge into Tampa. See traffic problems, call the injury firm of Abrahamson and Utica Hillsborough Traffic Tip Line 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by AutoTrader.com. With AutoTrader alerts, they'll let you know when the prices drop on a car you've been searching for. That way, you'll never miss out on a great deal. And they'll even send you newly listed cars that match what you're looking for. Sign up for text alerts and find your perfect car today at AutoTrader.com.
Today, fall-like weather, mostly sunny and breezy, high 80. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 65. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a high 85.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Missed a show? Then head over to TampaBayRadio.com, where all shows are available on demand. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Meloni.
And we're back to That Business Show with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business. Again, weekday mornings at 8 a.m. here on 1250 WHNZ. And learn more about the show over at TampaBayRadio.com. Currently talk with Jeff Gerard here about the Simon Soldiers Foundation. And so, Jeff, tell me, what kind of programs does Simon Soldiers offer for corporate sponsors?
Oh, we got great programs for corporate sponsors. My background really is as a television producer, and for many years I did the Children's Miracle Network show, which is there's 200 children's hospitals around the country, and we used to produce that. We've done shows for Amnesty International, National Federation for the Blind. And typically what will happen is a company like Walmart, Visa, Costco will provide money to produce commercials, PSAs, whatnot, for the nonprofit. In Simon Soldiers, we have what we call a buy one, get one program, BOGO, as you've probably heard.
Yeah, I see it on the TV with the cars out there. That's what immediately comes to mind. Buy one, get one car. But go ahead.
Well, and they don't usually do it in TV production either, let me tell you. But basically, we can come out and do a commercial for your. One of the things we found is that 70% of consumers, if you're running something in conjunction with a nonprofit, they're more likely to support your business just because they share your sensibilities. So what we can do is we can come out and do a commercial for your business, and at the same time we can usually piggyback a PSA for Simon Soldiers or whatever the nonprofit is that touches your strings. If it's cancer, if it's breast cancer, whatever it might be. Generally, what we'll do is we promote your company in being affiliated with Simon Soldiers or the nonprofit, show what you're doing. It's done very tastefully, and the benefit of that is that the business is doing good business, and that both the business and the nonprofit get time on the air.
Is this what you mean when you say cause marketing? Explain, to the audience exactly what is cause marketing.
Cause marketing is that basically you're marketing your business by your affiliation and what you're doing for the community, whatever that nonprofit is or whatever you're doing for the community, you're promoting it tastefully. And by promoting it tastefully, it might be just a little logo or, I'm such and such from such and such a company. And then you talk, really, for the most part, it's a PSA about what that nonprofit is or how that program can help the community. The other benefit of this, too, is when it comes to airtime is you can usually get if not free, you can get very, very good airtime on the TV stations, too. So it's really a win for everybody. Your company will be doing good, the nonprofit will get exposure, and in most cases, customers will pay attention and they're going to remember that you were helping someone in the community.
So what is Gerard Films' experience in cause marketing then? Has it been, very plentiful, to the business and to the sponsors as well?
That's really how I started in the business. One of my first things that I did probably 30 years ago was I lived in L.A. for 30 years, which was great for this type of thing. But at Children's Miracle Network, we would get people. I worked with Bob Hope, Steve Allen, all the old greats, and they were just happy to be there and promote whatever they could. I remember one of the first stories I did was about a little girl who had a heart transplant when she was 3 years old. And I thought when I was writing it and producing it, boy, it'd be great to get Betty White, to do the VO on this. And sure enough, it sent it to Betty White, and the next day she was there working with us. So I've been doing this for about 30 years, as I say, for Children's Miracle Network, which is all the children's hospitals. I've done Amnesty International. I've done National Federation for the Blind. The beauty of it is it's very rewarding to do it. And we try to find as many ways as we can to stretch whatever your investment is in that production to do as much good as we can with it.
Okay, so explain. I would wrap my mind around the buy one, get one program again for corporate sponsors. So what are you buy a commercial, you get a commercial, or what is this?
Well, you may get several commercials, actually. We try to find whatever we can to do as much as possible for whatever dollars are being spent. Let's assume a company wanted to put $100,000 towards the nonprofit. We'll find different ways to do it and promote the company at the same time. Typically, when I say a BOGO, that's if you buy one commercial, we're going to throw another one in there gratis. And we look at it as, by doing it gratis, we're donating to the nonprofit. And really, if you're going to be in the cause marketing business, you've got to be about doing good, and that's what we try to do. We try to do as much good as we can for as reasonable as we can, and see everybody profit, including the business.
Now, we talked a little bit about your film, The 45 Wars, the World War II rockumentary. What are some of the other films that you're involved in or that you're looking to do in the future? Is it always military-centric? Is that where your passion lies?
That particular one was really, that was a project that probably took 10 years start to finish to get it done. You know, we had to find the veterans and get it all done. That was a passion of love, so to speak. Our company's done all sorts of things. We've done, in fact, years ago we used to do, I don't know if you remember Carlton Sheets.
Oh, yeah.
Buy money. Well, you especially would probably remember that.
No money down, or
Yeah, well, that probably drove you crazy too, somewhat. But we did those shows, and they were the most successful direct response shows ever. I've done a lot of direct response. We've done a lot of commercials, done a lot of straight shows. 30 years in LA, you get a lot of opportunities to venture into a lot of different ways to do anything. So
where do how do people want to get involved with Simon Soldiers? I mean, how do they get involved in this? Are you looking for the pets, the dogs as well, or where are you getting the dogs from?
We're getting dogs. We have a network of rescue organizations right now that are, we go around. They tell us when they see they have a good candidate, and there's, you can tell are you a dog person?
I'm more of a cat person. Yeah,
okay.
But no, I don't mind dogs, but it just depends.
Well,
I grew up in West Virginia, and everybody let their dogs run free up there, and so I got chased by dogs left and right. So I kind of developed a little phobia of them. That's a whole separate story.
My wife will have to work with you on that one, but my wife's a therapist.
It's a different culture up in West Virginia than it is down here with the dogs.
No doubt about that. Rescue dog. You're kind of looking for a dog that you can tell that has an affinity for being around people and can kind of read what somebody's like and their emotions. A number of the rescue organizations will let us know when they have a dog that comes about. We have a veteran right now who is a very big man, very good man, and he needed a dog that was he lives in an apartment. He needed a dog that was about a smaller dog. So we looked around and we found a dog that was an 18-pound German Shepherd mix. Just fantastic dog. The gal who trains it found it, as she put it, going through the hood, just a stray, and she picked it up, took it home, and
so dogs large or small, there really is no certain type of dog that fits this program. Then.
No, and that's the thing about PTSD is each case is different. So we train the dog and the veteran to work together. Each one is going to have different needs. Some guys are in a wheelchair. Some guys are very active. Some live in an apartment. Some have a small child. So we really try to tailor. We really look at it and try to tailor it together. If the first match doesn't work, we'll find a second match. As long as the veteran's willing to work with it, we'll find somebody that'll work with it. And the dogs, there is no ideal breed. There's just ideal dogs. They come in all shapes and sizes, and that's what we look for. And
so for the veterans out there that want to get involved in the program, what's the best way to contact yourself or Simon's Soldiers? Best way to find it is go on our website, which is at simonssoldiers.org. There's 4 S's in that. There's simonssoldiers.org. Or you can send an email to gerard@simonssoldiers.org. And please, please, please contact us. We'd love to get you involved with a dog, and you'll see tremendous difference in the way you deal with the world. All right. Hopefully some listeners will take heed to that calling. Jeff, thank you very much for being in studio today and talking with me about the foundation. Thank you, Jamie, and thank you for the show you do. Thank you very much. And Jeff Gerard, again, founder of Simon's Soldiers Foundation. Learn more about him, gerardfilms.com or simonssoldiers.org, correct? All right. We'll see you back in here tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. on That Business Show with Jamie Meloni. The opinion.